Hello, we are BugBusters. This is how we busted the bugs. My name is Matthew.
My name is Cody.
I'm Tony.
All right, as far as test preparation, for a test bed, I used my laptop, Visual Studio Code with its built-in command prompt. I used the same test data as far as like student info over and over until we got it actually running, just to make sure that the actual student information wasn't the problem. And then we moved into kind of random and edge cases as far as student data. For the approach, looking at the code, like the obvious errors were just that some of the code was removed, like the initialization for the linked list, a lot of the break statements were removed. So after we fixed kind of like the type bugs, the program wasn't able to run, like because the functionality just wasn't there. So we had to heavily analyze the code, understand how it was actually implemented. So we didn't want to just rewrite big sections of the code. We wanted to use their implementation as much as we could. So for debugging, there was a lot of just compilation errors. We just kind of had to fix a bug, recompile, and then just keep doing that until we were actually able to compile it. Linked list issues were a big problem. The linked list wasn't initialized. Tail isn't really used at all. There was no memory allocated for any of the pointers, and the struct just wasn't made correctly. Break statements were missing, like I said before, and all of that led to a lot of open box testing. We weren't really able to close box test at all. Also, the storage requirement for the student list wasn't met, so no file is made. The actual students aren't stored at the end. There's no way to actually store them. Also, there was only a few comments, and some of the comments that are there actually reference code that was removed. So that was a problem.
So we'll go over some of the bugs that we face. So most of our work was making the program compile. There were many issues, including other issues that prevented a clean compile. In total, we found around 70 bugs on 62 lines, and we'll go through some of the examples now. So at the beginning of the code, setting up the student struct, the error code is on the left and our fixed code is on the right. So as you can see, they left out the type def, the pointer on the next variable, and the name for the struct. That was a simple correction. Next up, going up to how they implemented their linked list. They created a head and tail node, but they didn't allocate memory for these nodes, and they also didn't create the proper next node to go through to section through each of the linked lists. Then adding to the student attributes, this from mentioned before, we can see some of the majority of the code is missing. On the left is the incorrect code, and you can see they tried to do C++ programming when they coded most of their application in C. So to fix this, you had to use the string library functions and reinitialize the variables.
So in our subcode of errors we found were there were two break statements in a given code. So on these lines and multiple lines throughout the program, there were like break statements that shouldn't were removed or forgotten, which caused control profile issues, which caused like multiple large subpoints to not work properly. There were integer statements that were uninitialized or unsigned or unused, which throughout the program caused some errors to occur and throughout. So there are also like multiple loops throughout the program that had no iterators, so we were trying to access specific data from the program, which we weren't able to from the current state that we're at. This caused some iterators calls for an infinite loop, which caused the program to stay forever and not exit out from certain data. And lastly, from the delete function, from the student function, the print statement was inside the loop of the function itself, which caused to not print out the correct data when we try to delete a student.